Welcome to the No Script Show, where I had to fly in all the way from Florida, which means I didn't buy my ticket. I earned that shit like the Hunger Games. How you doing, gentlemen?
I'm doing well, Odin, and you?
I'm okay. I am currently, as you guys may have gathered, I'm currently in Pretoria, briefly. Yeah, and yeah, I had to fly in for. I actually no, never mind. I'm being mean to my home state. I had to fly through North Carolina, and if you've ever seen that airport, that shit's scary, man. That's like the Hunger Games. I've never had that much fear in my heart in my entire life. But yeah, I'm good.
Isn't North Carolina one of the states where they have all these lines for gas now?
Yeah, yeah. Are we gonna jump in on that?
Ah,
Any
it,
of
it
you
just rang a bell.
gents? Gents, any of you want to jump in on that before I make my comment?
Hmm.
Okay, I think I'll just go ahead and say, yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, been a hectic, probably 5 weeks or so, but yeah, I'm all right. Things are looking up actually, and yeah, I think as winter starts, well, at least winter for us, you start looking at your life with a different perspective, realizing that, so many years ago, um, you used to jump on the social media bandwagon of getting a temporary winter girlfriend, but at this age, when things are a little bit more permanent, you know, yeah, that doesn't count anymore. So yeah, but yeah, welcome back to Pretoria. Don't make it a habit though, because yeah, you might just lose your veneer.
Sorry.
He
Goku, what
hasn't
are you
lost
trying
his
to say
accent
there,
yet.
bro? Well, I'm trying to figure out what he's saying with this thing's more permanent thing, bro.
Let's just say at some point you have to leave the game with a high score.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
At some point.
At some point, even the best footballers retire, and then they remain like the top scorer for their club for like the next decade or so.
All right,
Yeah, bronzed in statues and all of that,
Mm,
all
mm.
right, all right. Cool, cool. I feel like that's like as the token single guy on the stream. I feel like that's advice that I need to take the most right now.
Well, Odin, if your videos that you share from America are anything to go by, you're not in a desert of females.
My own brother was like, I told him like, I texted him. I was like, bro, I'm so hungover. And he's like, how am I supposed to feel sorry for you, Mister Never on a Drought? You straight up drowning here, and you make me want to feel sorry for you. I'm like, bruh, compassion. What happened to compassion? It's just, yeah.
No, 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 no. You don't need compassion.
I had to drink a White Claw at 9 a.m. just to get over my hangover. That
Yeah.
that that was pain.
Well, Odin the other day had to explain to me what a white claw is. I had no context.
It's a type of okay, so let's get into hard seltzers real quick. So in the States, hard seltzers are pretty popular. Um, it's basically seltzer water with flavoring and alcohol. It's about 5%, but it tastes like, I don't know, cool drink. So people get destroyed on this. I've seen people literally crawling out of bars because they drank so many Trulies or White Claws. It is dangerous stuff, gents. It is. I seriously consider the concept that maybe we shouldn't have them here, given how people drink here. Maybe we shouldn't have hard seltzer here.
Okay.
Well, have you seen our brandy consumption?
That's true. That's true.
And, and
That's
according to you, brandy is not such a popular mix there, or a popular drink there in
yeah.
the US.
Nah, except for like Cavassier or cognac, any other cognac, but beyond that, no, they don't. Americans don't drink brandy. It's like they view it as like a old Englishman's drink type thing.
Okay, so it's up there with things you don't touch, along with the metric system.
Mm.
That's the weirdest thing because in their hospitals, their medical staff know how to use the metric system. Their military knows how to use the metric system because they have to coordinate their allies. It's literally just the civilian populace that uses the imperial.
I'm just imagining this scenario where you're looking at the doctor next to you, and he's like doing a little bit of sums, like, but he's hiding it. And he's like, I'm using the metric system. Don't tell my boss.
Well, the metric system is America's official system of measurement. It's just, like you said, the civilian populace just doesn't want to accept. They like their freedom units.
Freedom units.
That shit don't make sense, bruh. Like
it's so inefficient.
It's like 5 feet in a yard, and then it's like 28 yards in a mile. I'm like, what is this?
8.5 kilograms in a stone or something like that.
It's crazy, bro.
I find half of it actually a bit primitive. Sorry to all the American viewers, but yeah, I actually find it a bit primitive. That here's a standardized standard. But you guys are still choosing to use like feet and come on. It's a bit like even their paper standards. There's like a whole ISO standard for paper sizes. Your A4, A5, and all of that. Yeah, then they just decided out of nowhere, nope, we're gonna make our own one. So shorten the height a bit and then fatten the width. And this is letter sizing.
Letter size. What is that? I can't.
Was it easier to fold once upon a time? Like, why?
I actually need to ask my American friends what the point of that was. It's just it's
and
the
now they're
weirdest
just too sentimental to give it up.
I think it's that. It's just like the weirdest standards. It's like even the miles per hour doesn't make sense. It's like
my favorite is what happens when I'm listening to like a documentary or a story and someone says like, and then there was a 4-foot shark, and I'm like, well, I don't know if that's a small or a big shark. I don't know how I should react.
Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, Ernst, you're like 6 foot.
Yeah,
so that's what 6 feet is basically in height. Yeah.
There's also this obsession with height in America that I've picked up. I don't know if it's on the ground when you visited there, if you picked it, if it's actually a thing or if it's just online. But the Americans seem a lot more obsessed with height.
Oh yeah, They're so obsessed, especially in terms of dating. They're so obsessed. I think being a foreigner is. I mean, I'm like 5'11", 5'10". So I'm not quite 6 foot. But being a foreigner kind of offsets that. So I'm like, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't stand a chance there, I reckon. I'm like 5'7" on the dot.
Yeah, but you're a foreigner, bro. You got that foreigner vibe. So just...
Yeah. Well, except, I don't know, what's the expectation for like a black guy from Africa? Well, literally, what's the expectation? Should I start talking like Jimon Hon soon or...
I honestly just started like saying random shit in every language I know to chicks, and they're just like, oh, that's so romantic.
Yeah, you can pretty much just mix up all the languages and they won't notice. They'll be too lazy to go check it themselves. So you can pretty much get away with that shit, man. You've got the look down, you've got the passport. Now you just need to like get the language scam hustle going.
The problem is if they ever actually listen to the show, the game is done. That's done.
No wonder what you have been telling them.
Are
you a prince or?
Okay, first of all.
He's a family member of that Nigerian prince.
First of all, y'all need to dial that back. I would never employ deception in my romantic pursuits.
You're from Victoria.
I may have told them I'm best friends with Elon Musk.
I thought you were going to say you're like Elon Musk's main nemesis rather than best friends.
I thought that would work, but they love him too much there. So I'm like, okay, let me just say Speaking of which, can we finally discuss that I was right about Musk?
Right about Elon?
Yes.
Well, Elon's doing some weird stuff. I think that's pretty much a good tech topic to get into, man. So why don't you lay the foundation for us?
Okay, so Elon, aka the supervillain playing the long game, is now pushing for carbon taxes or something.
Yeah, and he's not going to use Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah, and they stopped using
Teslas.
Bitcoin to buy Teslas because it's too much of a carbon footprint or something like that. And I'm on some, bruh, how much of a carbon footprint did you think it was making up until now? did you think they were solar powering? Have you seen the type of rigs that they mine Bitcoin on? It's ridiculous. I don't know.
I think Elon's just playing the long game. Because if he can get carbon taxes in, get the fuel prices even higher, obviously electric car sales will go better.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. The man is a businessman, after all. He's not, like Onan always points out, he's not a rocket scientist. He's not an engineer. He's a businessman first and foremost. So I think you're correct, Martin, looking at it through that lens. Koketso, your angle on this?
Yeah, I think, I have the same sentiment, really. At the end of the day, he's still a businessman, so I don't think he's going to make, irresponsible decisions because, he still has shareholders, etc., to account to. So I think people tend to forget that, whenever he says something, it's not for fun, if I can quote unquote it. So, yeah, he's obviously made a killing in the short term, and, yeah, he's happy. Everyone else, that's on you.
Yeah, but I think something that, and this is only purely speculation, I think he is one of the first high-profile people that's figured out, or high-profile business people that's figured out his social media presence can actually have an impact on his business to a large extent in terms of just sending a tweet. And I saw this when he invested a lot of, I think it was a lot of Tesla's, not stock, but a lot of their funds, he invested in crypto and Bitcoin, and then he made a string of pro-Bitcoin tweets, and the price skyrocketed. And the same now goes for what's happening here, as Martin said, where he's playing the long game, but he's using his social media to kind of push and pull the zeitgeist or the conversation in a direction that suits his business. It's a bit too obvious to ignore in regards to, if you look at what he does, he'll sometimes, and I don't know why he does it, but he'll sometimes do something that you can almost say is deliberately to make his stock price go down. I don't know what he then does while the stock price is low. There is a lot of things that he can do that will actually be to his benefit, but he's done some weird things where it's just too suspicious, where you don't think it's just a coincidence.
Look, I'll be fair to him. If I had that much power and all of that, I'd probably use it as well. So it is a bit of a D move, but I'd probably do the same in his shoes. So no hate.
Yeah,
I hate him though.
I hate him. I hate him. No, honestly, the start of the Elon, the Musk Moja hate sort of rivalry stemmed from when he couldn't stop talking shit about AI.
Yeah, he talks shit about Odin's industry.
He couldn't. My nigga, you have never written a line of code in your life. Shut the hell up, okay? Okay? Just back it up, okay? I am not going to get on the football team field and tell Neymar how to do his damn job. So he needs to dial that back and shut up. I know what I'm doing here. And if I don't, well, we're all going to die pretty quick anyway. So good game, boys.
It's a bit like what Shapiro was saying about LeBron James as well. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you how to do basketball. You're a great athlete and everything. I'm not a great athlete. So yeah, I should take cues from you. But when it comes to social and political commentary, then, the roles flip, so don't be an expert in something, probably little about, so I think it's just one of those. But...
Yeah, one of my favorite tweets from the past week was one where someone said, if a bunch of A-class celebrities don't weigh in right now, this whole Israel-Palestine situation could get out of hand.
Yeah, speaking of which, any of y'all got takes on that?
For me, it's just it's more of the same. It's not something that's a lot of people are reacting as if it's something new, but we had this type of escalation into 2014 was much worse. 2,000 people died. In this case, these things or these types of clashes kind of last for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then there's a ceasefire agreed upon, and then things kind of slowly start to return to normal. I'm not the guy ringing the bell saying this is again World War III is on our stoop. With every clash in the world, there's always these people on Twitter saying, "Oh, this is it now. This is the big clash." But it's battles that have been going on for a while. I mean, in this particular case, it's a very good example of just two cultural identities choosing their own side. You're not going to be able to compromise between the two. The one side, the one side believes its narrative 100%, the other side believes its perspective and narrative 100%. And in order to find a compromise, there's a reason why they haven't been able to come to a compromise, because of that specific fact, where any type of compromise from one side to the other would be seen as a betrayal to the side making the compromise. But it's a very complicated situation. It's not something we have a lot of geopolitics experts this week on Twitter that know exactly how to solve the problem. I think there's a lot more to it, and it's not something that's going to be going away anytime soon. There is something interesting. My final thought there, and that is while Donald Trump or Orange Hitler was in office, there wasn't any of these clashes, and there was actually some peace agreements going on in the region, and now suddenly things flare up again. It's just something that I noticed.
Yeah. Let me let Martin go before I shoot.
I think it's a bit like that. There's always been tensions there, but I think the current flare up is a bit more tongue-tied, nefarious than that. Because if you're going to look at the Biden administration, there's way too many of them that has connection to big oil companies, especially in the Middle East. And Trump's move to get America energy independent was not good for those companies. So I don't know. I think because Biden opened up some funding towards Palestine, which obviously helped them to purchase a absolute buttload of rockets and stuff. So I think it's a bid to get the oil price up, because there's one thing that we've seen time and time again: if the Middle East is unstable, oil prices skyrocket, and that's good for business if you're an oil company. And you can charge whatever you want to. And just look in America, one pipeline goes down, and what's the fuel price? They went from $1.79 or something to like $6 plus.
Yeah,
a gallon.
I left around when that spike happened. It was bad.
So yeah, if peace in the Middle East is not good for oil companies, it really is not, because then everybody is working together and everything is nice. So I think there's a bit of a behind the scenes manipulating of the markets going on there. Obviously, what really pisses me off is at the expense of people's lives. I mean, it's just it's a bit of a bad move.
Sure. Yeah. No. I didn't think of it like that. That's actually a good point. But maybe just to add on there, you know how so I'm a DC guy. You know, I know there's Marvel fanboys amongst us here, but I'm a DC guy. Always was, always will be. But yeah, I mean, going into like the whole the Justice League storyline, you know, it's not said outright, but notice how Steppenwolf only shows face once Superman is dead. You know, so it's a little bit like that, where once Trump is out of the picture, suddenly, you know, Palestine has the goal to actually start firing rockets again. But like Martin mentioned, I just don't. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth that, you know, this happens, you know, right after Biden releases some funding towards them. And for years, they've been screaming the plight of the poor, you know, how they don't have infrastructure and the likes, even though Israel does offer it. But that's beside the point. The point is, with their funding, they decided that, okay, with our newfound wealth, we are going to purchase arms and armaments to send rockets into the Iron Dome. And for me, that's... it just sounds, it doesn't sound okay, it doesn't feel okay, and I can't get behind that sort of behavior, even if it was someone else besides Palestine. So I can't back them in this. If I'm picking a side, I'm definitely picking Israel's. There, I said it.
I'm probably going to be this token Israeli shield as well. I'll be like, I mean, it's a conflict, regardless of who, who's like Anne said, like they both believe their narratives. But I mean, first of all, this whole flare up is like,
maybe just before you continue, Odin, just a clarification. That's the bigger theme or the biggest story there. When it comes to terrorist organizations versus civilians, then it's not a story of one guy believing his story and the other guy believing his. I'm talking about the more historical, bigger picture there. In regards to the regional conflict. But anyway, continue.
Fair point. Yeah, and I'll just signal what you guys signaled is that the moment old Sleepy Joe sort of got wheeled, that man, how is he is the luckiest man on earth. How he stepped into an economy that was already recovering post COVID, a vaccine distribution plan like that was already set up. But anyway, he very much signaled from the start that he's going to be like, I'm pro-Palestine, all that. So it was predictable that this was going to happen because he signaled like, hey, I'm down with this. Hell, I'll even give you money. What do you think is going to happen if he openly signaled like, I'm okay with this? As opposed to the Cheeto emperor Donnie from Queens, who's very pro-Israeli. So I mean, I think regardless of whose side you're on, it was kind of predictable that they do that. Like Goki said, it's you gave them arms and armaments money. I mean, obviously people will say, oh no, but they gave them money for infrastructure. Well, it turns out, guys, money is fungible, which means if I have $10 and you give me another $10, even if I don't use that specific $10 you gave me to buy a rocket, it enables me to buy a rocket anyway because I now have more money. It's just,
Yeah, but the thing is, Biden also has a lot invested in giving Palestine money because that's something that his good buddy Obama started already, sending pallets of cash to Palestine to purchase arms with. So he's been doing it for a while now. So it's, like you said, very predictable that it was going to do that. Yeah. One, and the other thing to also bear in mind is I don't think the problem with Palestine is the Palestinian people, because effectively they have a dictatorship. I mean, well, they've got a democratically elected leader like we have in a democratically elected party. They just can't get rid of the oak. And
the dude's in like his 14th year or something.
Yeah, 20th. And if you're going to look in recent history, the Palestinian government just does whatever the hell it wants, and it's not shy to use terrorist organizations to reach the means that they want to. So that's the sad thing about the whole conflict is the Palestinian people is not the ones that has the beef with Israel. It's their government that's using them as pawns in a game. Yeah. And like I said, also Obama and the fellow warmongers and oil-thirsty politician types, they've been investing money in this thing for decades.
Yeah, and this is evidenced by the number of Palestinians who actually eventually flee into Israel and are accepted by Israel. But yeah, I think over and above that, on my part, as a Christian conservative, I have a biblical worldview. So there's many things I will question, as you guys know. But I don't question the Bible. That's where I draw the line, and that's where my line is. Everything else is fair game. So to me, the Israeli people are God's people, and for my peace of mind and my own benefit, both internally and externally, Israel is God's people. They were put there by God, and 6 million of them have been standing ground against over 1 billion Muslims in surrounding areas.
Wait, there's 6 million people? Only 6 million?
Wait, I could be wrong. What's Israel's population?
Let me check. But the thing about Israel's population is it's not just going to be the Jewish people.
Yeah. I think it's 6 or 7 million Jewish people in Israel.
So the total population of Israel is 9 million.
9 million. Isn't there like 9 million people in Joburg?
Of that is.
I'm sure there's 9 million people in Joburg.
Yeah, that's possible. There's 2.5 in Soweto alone. So again, 9 million Israelis, maybe 6-7 million Jews, in a region surrounded by 1 billion. 1 billion people on their neighbor's part, So again, on paper, this doesn't make sense how they can hold ground for so long, but they've been doing it. And for me, logical side, for me, that shows God's favor.
But I don't know if anybody's pointed this out to them, but if they really want to get on the whole SJW bandwagon, they should all actually just turn and attack Italy. Because if you look well, think about it.
I'm listening.
All right. Who screwed up Jerusalem in the first place? It was the Romans.
Yeah,
exactly. So they should actually be pissed off at Italy at this point and not each other, because the Romans started the nonsense in the first place. They could just all denounce Italy and then just go about their lives. Problem solved.
The problem is you have people in the region that hate the Jews not because of their presence in Israel, but because of their very existence as an ethnic group.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Bruh, ain't nobody dunking on Italy. Italy already has to deal with being Italy right now, and
Italy has to deal with American culture's perversions when it comes to pizza and pasta. Man.
Yeah, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen some of the things America has done to Italian food, and I'm gonna keep it 99 with you guys and round it up to buck. Yeah, we're going to put Vietnam war crimes on hold for a second because these war crimes on the food, like that needs to, like, something.
And pineapple belongs on pizza.
That's true.
My favorite meme response to any type of Italian food crime is like an Italian man and he's loading his weapon with like pieces of pasta, like shaped pasta.
Oh, wow.
Seeing that we're dunking on the Harris-Biden presidency, did you guys check Biden's going to start rebuilding Trump's wall in Texas?
Yes, but he's doing it lovingly and inclusively. That's the difference.
While handing out Kamala Harris's book to the guys that's coming to the country illegally, which I thought was a nice scheme. But is it just me, or did the American government really take all the corruption ideas that the South African government has come up with and just perfected it a bit, just put a nice veneer over it? Because I checked, like, with the Kamala Harris book thing, they handing out the books at the border for people the illegals that come into the country, all right? But the border guard or whatever is paying for it. So the taxpayers are paying for the government to buy the books. Yeah, but to buy the books from Kamala Harris's publishers. So she is making that's the way she's making money with the book, is by getting the taxpayer to buy it and then give it to illegal immigrants. I thought that was just like next level thinking on how to steal money from the taxpayers.
Wow.
Well, maybe Cyril's going to pull one of those. He's going to write a biography and then he's going to hand it out with the grants or like at the voting stations.
Yes.
You can confirm you voted for the ANC. You get a book paid for by the taxpayer of Cyril's story.
Yeah.
If there was motivation not to vote.
Could you guys sum that up for me? Because I see Bra Ace over here is trying. He's like, I'm not fired. You're fired. I landed. And I'm like, what the hell? I listen. Like something.
Yeah, so Ace pulls from the ANC's constitution. He pulls a clause in there and uses that clause to suspend sitting President Cyril Ramaphosa, right? President of the party now. He's using that clause and suspends the president. At the same time, he wants the actual country's court to declare that clause unconstitutional, because that's the same clause that was used to suspend him by the NEC. So yeah, when I use it, it's okay. If it's used against me, it's not constitutional. What a moron.
So he pretty much just played the Uno reverse card.
Yeah.
Bro, that shit dumb as hell.
But I still get the feeling that this whole Cyril Ramaphosa Ace thing is all theatre. I get the feeling it's all theatre, just we're fighting corruption, while meanwhile it's literally just a smokescreen. There's
this
nothing
happens
ever
every election year, Martin. So you're onto
everyone.
Something. Yeah,
it's every election.
It's the same with any of these feuds, or if you even can call them within the ANC. When, as Koketso said, when election year comes around, you get these bitter enemies within the party. They're fighting each other for power. And then after the election, they're big buddies again and sharing photos on social media of them enjoying like a very expensive bottle of wine at some 5-star restaurant. And then it's all like smiles.
Did you guys see the other thing? Our Foot and Mouth Award winner in South Africa, local political commentary, is Mr. Richard Spoor. I don't know if you guys see some of the blunders he's had on Twitter.
So the guy that's going to represent Jay-Z.
Zuma. Yeah, he's going to represent Zuma pro bono. So I'm quite interested to see what the hell happens there.
I'm actually looking up Richard Spoor right now.
You're looking if you've ever had a feud with the man, so you can go mock him or what?
You probably have.
Why do people always say that about me? Like, I'm the nicest guy on the show.
Because Odin, you're the only person on the show that has a literal enemies list.
Yes. You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you guys watched Big Bang Theory, but Sheldon Cooper, like the main character, he's got a list of like arch enemies literal list that he keeps of who's his nemesis at that point of time. Aiden gives those vibes.
I'm the nicest guy in the show. I don't know why y'all think that I got. I might have beefed with this guy.
Actually, now that I've checked the numbers and I've checked the records in the paper trail.
Yeah.
And Richard Spears, one of those characters he will be on point with some of his stances. And then every now and again, he takes his foot and he shoves it so far down his mouth that you can't see it anymore.
There was that one with the young lawyers that threw a Molotov cocktail in America into a police van. And his comment there was, and they're going to jail, I think, for like 10 years. They got a 10-year sentence, I think, talking under correction. And then his response was, "This is a very harsh punishment for a moment of madness." You threw a Molotov cocktail into a police van. I can't remember if there were people inside or not, but still, dude.
Yeah.
But they weren't thinking, and they were over emotional when it happened. Like, no, these people committed a crime, and you can't have exceptions.
No, over emotional is when I tell my girl, "Who cares what outfit you wear? We're going to the bar." That's over emotional. Her reaction.
That's a moment of madness.
You want to die.
We've already established that I have a death wish. Okay, I just have one question though. I will get to this. Why does homeboy here look like the uncle at a braai who drinks one too many brandies and tried to fight you, bro? Like, come on, man.
He talks about his years when he was a wrestler or something.
Yeah, like he looks like he's gonna get one too many.
Back in my day.
One too many brandies, and he's gonna try to fight me, and he's gonna like swing and fall over, break a hip or something. That's.
It will be interesting how the RET faction spins Spoor representing Jacob there, because remember White Man Bad and
White Man
also.
But it's the same as with Julius. White Man's only bad if he doesn't directly benefit you. The second he's trying to get you out of the shit, then it's fine. Then there's no problem with it.
On that point, I think about 2 weeks ago. Or 1 week ago, Dr. Ndlozi of the EFF posted a photo on Twitter regarding, I think it was Karl Marx's birthday, and he posted like a picture of Karl Marx or a painting, and he said happy birthday. And Adam's Rich responded, "He looks like one of your lawyers."
Bro, like nobody tell him what Karl Marx thought of black people, bro.
Dude, during lockdown, EFF had a whole thing where they were reading chapters of Das Kapital, like live on Zoom, as a, they spun it as a education campaign against capital.
Book club.
Yeah, that book club of theirs, and that's where Ndlozi was fumbling with his math there, because he tried to make an analogy or illustration of what he just read. But yeah, so I wonder if they've actually read it in full individually, or is this all just is it a game to them? Because I read it sometime last year, front to back, and I was just shocked that how do you follow this stuff? It sounds romantic and everything, but like it's nonsense.
But it highlights a big problem with our education system, and you can see this very clearly in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe the government likes to boast, we've got the most educated populace. There's a difference between being able to read and being able to read for comprehension. So just because they read the book doesn't mean they understand what the hell the oak's actually trying to say there.
South Africa's, unfortunately, our school system has a very bad time when it comes to teaching reading comprehension. I think that's one of our big obstacles that we need to tackle, because you're producing students that, like you said, Martin, can read, but they can't comprehend what they read. And it's if that's not fixed, it doesn't really matter how fast someone can read or how many books they can read in a day or in a month. If they're not taking in any of that information, it's useless. It's literally a waste of time. So, and I haven't read Das Kapital, but I have read the Communist Manifesto. And if it's anything like that, then I can imagine it's a very dreadful read.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's the same if you read what's the manuscript Hitler wrote. It's the same thing.
Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf, yeah. It's the same thing. You read through it, and there's a lot of points which is like, okay, dude, what you're saying now is not really lining up with what you said like 2 chapters earlier. There's no logic to it. It's just ramblings.
Is it just like stream of consciousness writing as he thinks?
Yes. Yeah, it's a bit like that, except this time Hitler was actually lying in a lot of it, like he lied about his own personal history, for example.
A lot.
Well, that's what you get with most of these politicians and people that get into high positions. Somewhere you find out that they pretty much just made up some story. My favorite in that regard was in the BLF case when Andile was there, and I can't explain to you how he got there, but somehow during his testimony, he was starting to give his backstory on how he got involved with the BLF. And long story short, his story is he met this like old man, this wise sage in his hometown, and this man said, no, there's some old man, and this man. But listen, it the way that he tells it is actually it sounds like plagiarized from the Bible. It's very biblical in his story. So he meets this old sage, and then this man says, go read this book, and he gives him like some, I don't know what, I think it was Fanon or one of these radical books, and he goes to read it, and he comes back a week later to this old man. The old man says, now tell me what you read in this book, and Andile says what he read, and then the old man says, no, you didn't understand it, go read it again. So then I forgot to mention, this old man's on the top of a mountain, so he has to go up the mountain to go down. He goes to read the book again. And I think after 5 or 6 attempts, he comes back and he gives the summary of the book, and then the old man says, yes, now you are ready. And that's the end of story. That's how Andile of BLF was born spiritually.
This is like from a Chinese movie flick of some sort. Sensei up the mountain, and then he sends
Mr. Miyagi.
Well, Mark Oppenheimer, our lawyer at the time, called it the story of Black Miyagi.
Honestly, if he started telling me that story in the middle of court, I would be like, yo, minimum wage, shut the fuck up over there. I'm done with the story.
But on a bit more serious note, there's actually a reason, a psychological reason why a lot of your big ego leader types do that, where they rewrite their own history. And it works on how your brain processes and recalls memories. Because our memories are actually very unreliable. It's very fluid. Your mind can mess around with it. So if you tell yourself the same lie convincingly enough for long enough, you will actually believe it. Because there are a bunch of tests that they've done where people made up or recalls memories of stuff that happens to them when they were younger, a couple of years later. And every indication shows that person believes it's the truth. If you inquire to that, they believe it's the truth. So I wonder if that's not the thing where you get someone that's a bit mentally unstable, and then they gain a bit of power, and then they write their own backstory to back this persona that they have currently.
So you're saying, Martin, that Kim Jong-il actually believed that every golf swing that he did was a hole-in-one?
You do get that. You get people that the mind is really quite powerful at convincing itself about stuff. It's one of those weird things where your own mind can bullshit itself, because it works in the way how our brains evolve. Because like me and Odin have talked about it, it's not one monolithic organ. It's a bit of core coding, and then just wrapping and filters over it, and bits added to it, and the different layers or the different portions of your brain don't necessarily work together. There's intermittent things that process the information as it goes from the one portion to the other portion of the brain. One of those weird things that we should actually spend some more time looking into how our own brains work, and then figuring out how to, I don't know, get Bitcoin to be a viable currency or shit like that.
And before I forget, can you give us the story on what happened with that hacking of that pipeline? Did they eventually pay that ransom?
Okay, so by the way, shout out to Martin for doing a computer science reference there. We basically still have our lizard brains. We've just written wrapper code on top of that brain, and that's the the pipeline, not the Keystone one. Old Joe killed that one way back. So this one, basically, it seems that they're going to pay. Okay, so this is the best part, right? I'm chilling in my apartment, minding my business in Florida, and no wild parties or anything like that. And I turn on the news, and I see Jen Psaki comes on, and she's like, okay, so for those of you who don't know, the reason there is a fuel shortage in the United States, 1970 style, which, by the way, I am pissed about. I thought we were going to have the roaring 20s. I mean, Bill Gates done paid 60 billion whatever to be single during post-COVID 1920 summer. Come on. I don't even blame the guy. Like, how much would you pay to be one of the richest men on earth post-COVID summer, single as AF? Like, I get it, bro. I get it, Bill. But anyway, it seems that they're going to pay the ransom. But the funny part is, originally, the White House said the pipeline is a private industry, so whether they pay it or not is up to them. And we're like, up to them. The industry shut down. Who cares if they're private? Pay the ransom. But
people are lining up for gas. Gas prices are going to $8.
But the funny part is, it turns out it's indications now coming out that it was a type of phishing attack, which, for those of you who don't know, is an email that you click on a suspicious link, or they spoof that there's some official
social engineering.
Yeah, social engineering. Some official person asking for details. The funny part is, as it turns out, and we've yet to confirm this, but it seems like a certain unreleased high-ranking employee there clicked on an email, and the email link was it said something to the effect of Kansas, more like cans, as in like cans, as in boobs, this. And it was some picture of some chick at a Kansas City Chiefs football game with massive boobs. I'm like, oh my God, you are telling me that the industrial pipeline has shut down because
there's gas shortages around the country.
Because some dude is thirsty as hell. And I was like, the sort of, and I said to my mates back there, I'm like, the pursuit of womanly pleasures has been the downfall of man since the Garden of Eden. Like, it's just every damn time. So we've yet to confirm it, but rumors are it turns out it was a phishing attack. Some dude clicked on the link and he wanted to see giant cans at a Kansas City Chiefs.
Look, I don't think it's. Yeah, I think it's quite possible. Remember a few years ago, I can't remember which one of these networks, I think it was like Pornhub or something, got hacked, and all the emails and stuff were leaked in plain text and dumped on a torrent site somewhere,
that was that I know what I think I know what you're talking about. It was it was a website that was designed for married couples to be able to cheat on.
Ashley
Madison.
Ashley Madison, there we go.
The info.
Yeah, so when our guys actually, for journalism purposes, pulled the list of everything that was hacked, there were like email addresses from Eskom, .gov.za,
It's like,
I didn't even remember that angle to the story. Nobody told me at the time that the ANC was deep into that.
No, because all the email, if an account was made, that email, there was like literally gigabytes of files with all these email addresses, and you could just do a simple search. And they found email addresses from like state institutions. Obviously, you know how email addresses are. A lot of them are name.surname@whatever.gov.za.
Someone hacked my computer.
I'm going to justify it, guys. I'm going to justify it. This is actually really smart. Okay, hold up. Just bear with me for a second. It's actually really smart. Why would you use your personal Gmail or whatever if you're going to sign up to Ashley Madison? Your wife's not going to log into your Eskom mail. So this is actually kind of smart. I'm just saying.
The time and energy it takes to create a burner email is literally as much as it takes to make a cup of coffee.
Okay, yes, but we're talking about Eskom employees here. Meritocracy is not a point for hire.
I have to say I do, living in the South and living in a red state, I do enjoy that they still have the concept of meritocracy and people know what they are doing.
I'm just imagining now Odin one day when he's married, he just uses for all these dodgy sites, he uses the email odinmoija at thenoscriptshow.co.za.
Well, if Odin ever gets hacked, it's going to be because he received an email where the title was bustyasianbeauties.com or something like that.
No, he's going to fall for the exact same scam for the Kansas one.
On my honor, if that ever happens, straight up bury me. Matter of fact, throw me to the alligators. Like, I don't even want that shame to be put on my clan name. Like on the Bagatla clan name. I just chop me up, put me in a swamp,
Well, your ancestors will disown you, Odin, so you'll pretty much not be facing them after death.
Yeah. So yeah. Also, I wanted to bring up, since Ernst and I discussed this as a bit of a theme, is stories. The Return of the King story now, since I'm back in PTA for a while, and I've got a lot
Prince returns.
I've got a lot of Florida man stories to tell you guys, and I was sitting with a friend of mine before I left. Actually, it's the reason I half missed my flight, because we got too damn drunk, but.
Imagine telling that to your family back in South Africa. Like, why did you miss your flight? Oh, I was too drunk.
The thing is,
okay, so this is how it started. But honestly, you hear these stories about Americans having tons of guns and stuff, and all of my mates back in the States, especially in southern red Florida, I mean, guys have like cupboards full of rifles and just cans and cans of ammunition. I felt like I was in a movie, because the dude just opened up his cupboard and there's just
one of those walk-in cupboards.
Yeah, I'm not even playing. Like, he doesn't have an FAL. He'd like to. So if Gideon from Gosa ever hears this, bruh, like there's a business opportunity. But I mean, he's got like 2 ARs. He's got his AK. He's got about 5 or 6 shotguns. World War II Japanese rifle. Civil War sabers hanging on his wall. Bruh.
You hear the music, the Hans Zimmer music from Black Hawk Down in the back, like.
I mean, he's just on loop. So yeah, but it's yeah.
Sorry, speaking on the topic of firearms, did you guys see that data that was released about the average ages of our South African military's different ranks?
It's pathetic. Like
30. I mean, I think our infantrymen was something. The average age was like 34, 36. I mean, we've got a geriatric fucking armed forces. What the hell are you going to do with that?
36. By then, you should be like you should be a commissioned officer.
Yeah, it's like the ANC Youth League being like a bunch of 38 and 39-year-olds.
Yeah, no, I saw those numbers, and I'm going to look at them again sometime in the coming week. But I just looked at this and I could feel the rage inside of me. But yeah, it's actually pathetic, honestly. The state of our defense right now leaves much to be desired, especially when you hear things like Denal's IP having been sold to the Saudis because Denal can't pay employees, can't pay bills. Mm-hmm. I drive past the Littleton campus on my way to work sometimes, and massive campus, big parking lot. You can count the cars in the morning, So yeah, it leaves much to be desired.
Yeah, but Denal, what really sad about Denal is it used to be one of the best arms manufacturers in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've sold off nearly everything. Their powder manufacturing division was sold to a German company, I think 3 years ago already.
Yeah, I forget their name, but yeah, Rheinmetall was also sold, yeah. Yeah,
Rheinmetall was sold. They worked that thing into the ground. It's really, really, it's just such a loss. Because Denal was one of our biggest, for the government at least, one of their biggest cash cows back in the day. They made millions out of that company, selling arms and ammunitions and stuff to other militaries, and they just ruined the whole thing, just down to the ground. Sure. And we don't even have a military to speak of anymore, because I do competition shooting, and we shoot a lot with the guys, the military guys.
Mhm.
And let me tell you, even if they can run, the infantrymen can run up to to the firing line and still have breath left to pick up a rifle, they're not going to hit the broadside of a barnyard, most of them, because it's just, you cannot believe the lack of training that they have. It is unreal. It is absolutely spectacularly bad. It's
Sure.
bad.
Well, state-proof your life, Ernst.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Nice
the
segue.
only way. And and this is something we talked about earlier on the show as well with Martin, when you said that Joe Biden is building the wall now as well. I think Americans are realizing that no matter who they elect, the government always keeps to their agenda. They just go chugging on forward. They're gonna do their debates about, we're gonna lower taxes by 1% or increase it by 1%, but they're pretty much gonna stay on the same general
Course.
trajectory in regards to what the military industrial complex or the larger bureaucracy wants. And the president's just a figurehead. So I think they're going to realize that when Biden's going to say some radical things. Maybe he's going to pander to some leftists. But if you look at his policies, I can guarantee you it's going to be pretty much a general continuation of the previous regime. That's just how I've interpreted the American super government from looking at it.
I don't know if you guys ever watched Razor Fist's videos on YouTube, but he did a video where he also said Americans that complain about the two-party system, they must just look a bit harder. You don't have a two-party system. You've got a one-party system.
Yeah.
Because the Dems and the Republicans, they run the same general course, and they have been doing that for decades. It's just a little bit of different flavoring. How do you want it delivered? Do you want it delivered with a Democratic flavor or with a Republican flavor? But they do the same thing over and over.
It's Americanism at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, that's why when I was sitting in bars and stuff, people don't actually, and maybe they do in like, I'll tell you this. If you sit in a bar in New York, people will talk about who the president is. If you sit in a bar in Florida, they will talk about who their governor is, who their local representative is. And this goes down to the whole separation of power and devolving things down. Most people actually now, post-election, don't care anymore. All they care about, price of gas, price of food, who are we electing as our local governor? And Ernst and I had this discussion as well. Even beyond that, they care very much about their localized little county. I mean, where I live, you'll see signs. Like, I haven't seen a pile of rubbish since I've gotten there, and you'll see signs there. It's like this highway or this section of street or road is adopted by X fraternity or X sorority or X firehouse or whatever, and they literally live a life where, as Aaron said, you clean up your own street, and they adopt a street, and everybody knows these people are in charge of keeping this place clean, and they don't care whether Washington is going to send people to keep the street clean.
Sure.
Yeah.
But speaking of governors, do you guys see who's running for governor of California?
Okay.
No, who's running? I might have missed it, but who's running?
Caitlyn Jenner.
Which celebrity?
Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh, I saw that as a headline. So it's for real.
Yeah, it's legit.
I love
what's
the spasm over it. It's like half of conservative American Twitter is like, oh, well, we can't let Caitlyn Jenner run because then we've lost the LGBTQ agenda and we're giving into it. And then the other half of conservatives is like, no, we're backing Jenner. We want to see the libs figure out whether they hate a Republican or want to support a trans woman. I'm like, this is amazing. This is.
What was it?
I'm just not a big guy for the whole celebrity running for office thing. I think the longer I look at the Trump presidency, the more it starts to look to me like a protest vote where people didn't really vote in Trump for his substance, rather just to give a big middle finger to the system. And that's how I feel. I think a lot of these celebrities that are talking about they want to run for office, I mean, The Rock and Jenner and everything, I think they're on the misconception that people are going to vote for them because they like them or because of their fame. But I think at the end of the day, Trump was kind of an anomaly.
Dwayne Johnson wants to run.
Yeah.
Not really. Because California, there's something wrong with California because the California, every time most of the times, Trump was the exception to the rule that there's a celebrity president or governor. It comes from California. Because Reagan, was it Reagan?
Yeah,
he was also an actor. Then he was governor of California. You had Schwarzenegger. I'm disappointed he never made it to make it to presidency. Arnold as president of the USA would have been spectacular, I think. Can you imagine that?
Isn't he ineligible because he wasn't actually born in the US?
Yeah, that's the reason why he couldn't run. He wasn't born in the US. But I don't know if you guys remember, South Park did a little skit about they cast the Arnold Schwarzenegger character as the president of the United States, I would have loved to have seen that. But I don't know what it is with California. They always come up with these weirdo guys that run for governor, and then they elect them.
I would explain that as California being just a fake society. Like, it's pretty much Los Angeles and Hollywood and
San Fran.
It's all this synthetic culture. It's all this artificial culture. I'm not surprised if that's.
But I think we must give Odin a mission when he goes back to the States. Is he must get them to implement the electoral college system on a state level as well, because that'll change a lot of things in a lot of states. Because in New York and California, for instance, it's not the state that elects the governor. It's one city that elects it, because they don't have the electoral college on a state level. So you get Hollywood and LA that elects Arnold Schwarzenegger as a governor, and he was, by all accounts, a pretty crappy governor to begin with. But the rest of the state, they don't have the numbers to influence who gets elected.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are so many people, especially in the states that I live in, that are now leaving those states, like California and New York. It is unbelievable. It is unreal how many people you run into on the streets. Like, oh, no, I'm from New York. I'm like, what are you doing here?
It's like, what do you think? Would you stay in New York?
Yeah, but they take their politics with them, which is the dangerous thing.
Yeah.
I
we have the same problem here. You know, how many people leave the Eastern Cape to the Western Cape and take their politics with them? Like, you know, you left what you now want to vote for here. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
That's all my thing. Actually, I don't have any other tech topics to discuss today, unless you guys have tech topics.
Tech talk.
The only thing I have that's remotely tech is, did you guys see the piece of the Chinese space shuttle that they kind of lost control of?
Didn't that land already?
Yeah, it landed, I think, west of the Maldives. It crashed into the ocean, what was left of it. But it raises a question. I think at some point we really should start reining China in, because they are going to cause some serious freaking damage to other countries.
I think they already did.
They just don't. They've got that typical Mao mentality. They just don't give a shit. They just don't. They do whatever they want to. They just go unchecked. I mean, imagine if something like that piece of the spaceship, that the rocket, they lose control of it. They don't know where it's going to come down, and that lands in something like, pick a city, any city, anywhere in the world. Pretoria. Even if it hits Pretoria, you're not going to sit with one or two casualties. It causes some serious damage. China's just sorry.
That's going to be the plot for No Script Show comic book, where Odin is like an Iron Man type figure, Tony Stark type figure. This piece of the Chinese space station is hurtling towards Pretoria, and he has to go stop it.
I mean, I would like that. I mean, y'all know how I feel about being Tony Stark, but I mean, Martin's got a point, though. How much longer, are we going to let one nation just go? For those of you who don't know, who are just listening now, China lost a piece of one of their rockets mid-separation, and that thing was just orbiting on a degenerating orbit, and it thankfully didn't land anywhere majorly populated. But if that thing from that orbit, something that size coming down from orbit, hit anywhere on land, that would have been disastrous. We're talking, I mean, low-level nuclear destruction type thing, because with all that kinetic energy coming down from space, we're dead.
And probably terminal velocity is reached way up there anyway. So by the time it does come down,
And it reminds me of another thing. Did you guys see that the Russians are restarted the space race again?
With the Oh no, I'm talking about the nuclear train story where they're reviving their trains that can launch nuclear weapons from the cold.
No, they're revitalized the space race. They announced they're going to send a director and an actor to the moon to make the first movie in space. And then
what?
Odin's best friend, Elon, and Mr. Scientology himself said, okay, no, but they are going to beat the Russians at doing it. So currently, Elon Musk and I keep forgetting what's that actor's name? Tom Cruise. Yes,
yeah.
They are racing the Russians to be the first persons to make a movie in space.
We all died in 2012, and now we're just in hell.
No, I'll take it further.
I've actually read through Revelation, being a conservative Christian myself. I've read through Revelation a few times, and I'm starting to pick up some themes here. I'm like, wait a second.
Something must be going on. There was a rip in the space-time continuum, or the Matrix is glitching, or we're all dead, and this is our punishment for our lives that we lived, or something. But something's out of whack. It's getting too weird, guys.
Who's that guy again? It's who's that guy that just predicts stuff? Nicodemus or
Nostradamus.
Nostradamus. There we go. Yeah, it's Nostradamus claiming yet another win. But
you're South African. In South Africa, we've got Sino van Rensburg.
Fair enough. But I mean, just on that, right? Like for me, I just find it weird that firstly, imagine if the US had a piece of a shuttle explode, or a piece of a rocket explode and land somewhere. People would be calling for blood. There'd be talks at the UN just around this. But when China does it, oh no, these things happen. No one died, right?
No one died, right?
Yeah, but had it been a NASA initiative and things went south, for whatever reason, with 0 or however many casualties, I promise you, there'd be CNN hot topics on this, specifically on this, and the danger this poses, and all of that. But when it's China,
the Americans would be prohibited from any space-related projects for like a decade.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, guys, I tend to think that some certain countries in the world get a lot more grace when things go wrong than others, and it's becoming an issue. Like you say, China gets all the grace in the world on things. It's like, why? They are literally a communist dictatorship. They are literally a dystopian communist why?
Yeah. Man. You know what's funny though? Like, I rewatched all of the Transformers films again a couple of months ago, and then I got to the one that was basically state sponsored by China. I think it's Age of Extinction, and in that film, like watching it maybe for the third time now, I start seeing things now. Maybe I've taken more red pills since the last time I watched it, but it's like there's a scene where it's in the middle of Texas. And there's like a Chinese ATM there with a Chinese bank card. I'm like, wait, what?
In the middle of Texas?
Then towards the end of the movie, because it's Transformers, it's a Michael Bay film. Someone has to save the world at the end of the day. And right at the end of the film, it's like I see Chinese Communist Party government officials coming to the aid to rescue the world. I'm like, wait, what?
But one thing the way I see it, I liked reading my old philosophers like Cicero and those guys. And one thing that I can't help but draw parallels between Western society now and the Roman society about 2,000 years ago. Because
decline? Because
the decline of the civilization. Because the things, especially Cicero, I like my Cicero. But a lot of the other guys as well, the stuff that they said, the issues that they picked up in the society of the Romans is the same issues we have today, the social degeneracy and the governments, and you get the same vibe almost. And I can't help but think, but China is just sitting there thinking, okay, cool, you guys destroy yourselves over there and we'll just slip into the power vacuum that you guys are going to leave.
So you're saying in ancient Roman times, they had the exact same bizarre things happening, like people, celebrities pledging themselves to perform the first play on the moon.
No, not we. Obviously, come on. We're 2,000 years later, so we have to do it bigger and better. But just the general things, the higher or increasing degeneracy, just general adultery and pedophilia and stuff like that, and everybody writing books about everything, and celebrities going into politics, and you just get the same theme that runs.
Yeah, well.
The Romans committing themselves to gladiatorial combat on the moon's surface.
That would be amazing. Me versus Musk on the moon. Just
no, it should just be our version should just be I'll get behind Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, fight to the death on the moon's surface.
Then I fight the winner on Mars. But I mean, Martin's right. We had people defending like cuties. Remember that Netflix cuties shit?
Oh yeah.
I literally saw people on Twitter and discussing it. I'm like, what are we discussing here? There is nothing to discuss here.
Well, did you see the law that the California State Senate is passed now?
Yes, and it's fucking gross.
On the statutory rape, where it's not considered statutory rape if the age difference is 10 years or less between the two parties.
So this is like a clause to what is already existing, or?
Yes, it's like an amendment. So let's say if you have quote unquote consensual sex and you are 17, you can go all the way down to a 7-year-old, as long as the gap isn't more than 10 years.
That's insane. And again, from California of all places. I mean,
of all places. But I mean, it's just it's getting really out of hand now in some places.
Sure. Well, it's funny because like I've only been to the US once, and this was many years ago. But but I was in Colorado, and I found an old friend via Twitter actually. Just similar to how you find friends from long ago on Facebook. We happened to find each other on Twitter. And she was telling me that, so she wants to be an actress and obviously make the big time. And unfortunately, that industry is centered around Hollywood. But she was telling me that there was a time she was actually in California and, tried the whole let me break into Hollywood thing. But then your inner common sense starts to kick in where you realize that, for me to actually make it here, the whole sell your soul narrative includes things like being okay with pedophilia and. So she packed up and with her husband. I think they moved to like Arizona or I can't remember where, but I think no, not even Arizona. I think they're like 2 states away. And she was just telling me this. So I'm just there thinking, so okay, it's not just me seeing it on the other side of the world, but it is actually a theme that California is where you go to degenerate and lose your values.
No, absolutely, man. Odin, is there anything else you want to discuss? I got to run in like a few minutes.
Nah, I think I'll let one of you guys take us out since I did the intro. But any final thoughts, gents?
Koketso, maybe you give some final thoughts and then I'll close it off.
Oh wow, okay. There's a lot of
pressure. Got him.
Yeah, okay. Well, my first appearance on the No Script show, so No Script.
Yeah.
And again, gents, thanks for having me. Really appreciate this. It's always good hearing voices of reason in amongst other things. It's good to see Odin is actually alive.
I have to mark 5 papers in the so upset. Fuck them kids. It's gonna give you all F's. Fuck them kids. I'm kidding.
If I can maybe just put my closing remark, I think it's very difficult being principled in this day and age in 2021 in and amongst all of this chaos all over the world. So it's very difficult being principled, but I'd make the call to tell everyone, keep your principles. Being a lone voice doesn't mean you're the only one. So let's keep at it, and you do you.
Well, that's actually something me and Odin have talked about quite a lot. It's pretty much that verse of what will it what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? And you selling out your principles is pretty much you selling out your soul. So I think that's the thing that we need to cultivate in South Africa. People need to value their principles, because if you're willing to give up your principles to win, then you win in the end. But then what was the point? Then you're just exactly like your enemy, and your enemy is actually won. Odin's actually got a good analogy or like a story for that. So maybe you can give that, Odin, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, it's actually related to it was inspired by an old English play, but it's basically you're running through this forest, and you're chasing this sort of serpentine monster, and at each sort of break point, you kind of have to chop down a tree, or you have to take off a piece of armor to keep running through the bushes and all that, and you keep going and eventually you take off the last, you get this thing on the ground, you take off the last piece of armor, and you drive your sword through the snake, and you've won. And you think you've won, and it starts laughing, and it looks at you and says, "We won, I won." And you realize underneath all of that, you're wearing like the same shirt, and you're basically the same as the serpent you just killed.
Sure. Wow.
Well,
every piece of armor was a principle you gave up, basically. Yeah,
to get where you were.
No, Odin, thank you very much for the excellent conversation and for inviting us all on. We'll make a plan again in the future, and I'll see you tonight if everything goes to plan.
Yes. I'm so not used to there being lockdowns living in Florida. I'm like, what? I had to leave the bar at 10 last night. I'm like, what? Anyway, anyway.
All right. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Peace.
Cheers.
Bye.